In the heart of Washington, D.C., the grand chamber of the House Judiciary Committee buzzed with the taut, almost suffocating atmosphere. The air itself seemed heavy, as if the entire room was holding its breath, awaiting a clash that would define this moment in America's fractured political landscape. Every seat was filled, from the somber rows of lawmakers to the anxious faces of the spectators, all aware that this wasn't just a hearing. It was a live, nationwide broadcast, a political arena where the future of the immigration crisis and national security would be shaped. Millions across the country watched, holding their breath, as Los Angeles descended deeper into chaos. The question looming over everyone was stark. How far would the federal government go, and at what cost? To state sovereignty? At the very center of the chamber, Pam Bondi, the tough-as-nails Attorney General, sat upright, her face unblinking. She radiated the calm, collected confidence of a political warrior, ready to deliver a hardline message. Any involvement in the riots would be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Across from her, Gavin Newsom, California's charismatic governor, exuded a weary confidence, the weight of his state's defiance etched subtly in his eyes. He embodied California's progressive and resistant spirit, but he knew a single misstep, a moment of lost control, could cost him everything: power, prestige, even his political future. Presiding over it all, Chairwoman Ellen Vargas, a veteran Democratic congresswoman, banged the gavel, signaling the start. Her voice cut sharply through the murmurs. Today, we focus on the crisis in Los Angeles, where violence escalates and the decision to deploy federal troops sparks controversy. We need clarity. Are these actions legal? And who do they serve? The stage was set, the gladiators ready. Chairwoman Ellen Vargas locked eyes with Attorney General Pam Bondi, her gaze piercing. Miss Bondi, can you explain why the Justice Department supports deploying the National Guard and Marines despite California's objections? We need clarity. Are these actions legal? And who do they serve? Bondi took a deep breath, her voice calm, yet resonating with an icy conviction. Madam Chairwoman, Los Angeles is drowning in chaos. Rioters are throwing bricks, burning cars, attacking police. This isn't peaceful protest. It's criminal behavior threatening national security. The Justice Department has a duty to protect citizens and enforce the law. We've identified key suspects, and I assure you, those who break the law will face severe consequences. She paused, her eyes scanning the room, emphasizing each word. The federal government acts for Americans, not for politics. Scattered applause erupted from Republican lawmakers, a stark contrast to the stone-faced Democrats who remained silent, their expressions unyielding. Republican Congressman Marcus Holt, a fervent supporter, nodded in approval, his voice booming. Miss Bondi is right. We can't let cities be destroyed just because someone wants to cause trouble. President Trump did what was necessary. Vargas banged the gavel, her tone stern. Mr. Holt, wait your turn. She then turned to Governor Gavin Newsom, her expression softening slightly. Governor Newsom, you've called the troop deployment unconstitutional. Can you elaborate? Newsom leaned toward the microphone, his voice, low but sharp, carrying the weight of California's defiant spirit. Madam Chairwoman, California faces a crisis, but not one caused by our people. The Trump administration has fueled tensions with immigration raids and a discriminatory travel ban. Deploying the National Guard and Marines without state consent is an unprecedented power grab. This isn't about security. It's a political stunt to bolster the president's image. He paused, staring directly at Bondi, his gaze unwavering. Miss Bondi, your Justice Department is turning the law into a tool for one man, not for justice. Murmurs rippled through the room. Some spectators clapped softly, but Republican lawmakers shook their heads, whispering among themselves, clearly disapproving of Newsom's direct challenge. Bondi offered a faint, almost imperceptible smile, her eyes sharp as knives, a clear sign she was unfazed by the attack. Here's the expanded script for the escalation section, maintaining the faceless video format and intensity, the atmosphere. In the House Judiciary Committee hearing room, felt almost suffocating as Chairwoman Ellen Vargas nodded for Pam Bondi to continue. The light from ornate chandeliers glinted off the Attorney General's resolute face, her eyes radiating sharp confidence. Lawmakers, spectators, and millions watching on television sensed a turning point approaching. Bondi stood, adjusted her microphone, and began with a steady but authoritative voice. "Madam Chairwoman, honorable members, I'm here not just to justify, but to present the truth. Los Angeles is being torn apart by violence, and the Justice Department will not stand idly by." She signaled an aide, and a large screen behind the witness stand lit up. FBI footage began playing, silent, but chilling enough to make the room shudder. A group of masked individuals hurled bricks at police cars, glass shattering. A convenience store was ransacked, goods strewn across the floor. An LAPD officer fell after being struck with a wooden club. The crowd murmured, some covering their mouths in horror. Bondi paused the video, looking directly at the lawmakers. "This is not protest. This is crime, and we've identified one of the ringleaders." She held up an FBI photo enlarged on the screen, a masked man, brick in hand, throwing it at a patrol car. "This individual injured a federal officer. Through our investigation, the FBI has identified him. As we speak, a search warrant is being executed at his Los Angeles home." Murmurs rose, but Bondi raised a hand for silence. "We're not stopping there. 9 attacks on federal officers are under investigation, including the use of Molotov cocktails, those looting stores. We will prosecute them under the Hobbs Act with up to 20 years in prison." The room fell silent as Bondi's tone turned colder. "And I have a clear message. Anyone from stone throwers to instigators will face federal prosecution. If local authorities won't protect law enforcement, the Justice Department will." She paused, her gaze sweeping to Gavin Newsom as if delivering an unspoken warning. "No one is above the law, citizen or official." Republican Congressman Marcus Holt jumped in, his voice booming. "Miss Bondi, you're doing the right thing. Los Angeles is proof of California's failure. President Trump had to step in to save the city." Applause erupted from the Republican side, but Vargas banged the gavel, demanding order. "Mr. Holt, wait your turn." Across the room, Newsom sat motionless, but his hand gripped his pen tightly. Sarah Klein, the independent journalist watching from the back, jotted down, "Bondi's hitting hard. Newsom needs to counter, but she's put him in a tough spot." Klein realized Bondi wasn't just targeting rioters. She was crafting a narrative to discredit Newsom. Democratic Congresswoman Sofia Rivera stood, trying to shift the focus. "Miss Bondi, you talk about the law, but is deploying federal troops without state consent constitutional? And these videos, are they cherry-picked to smear protesters?" Rivera tilted her head, her eyes challenging. Bondi responded without hesitation. "Congresswoman Rivera, federal law allows the president to deploy the National Guard to protect property and national security under the Insurrection Act. One is for the videos. This is direct FBI evidence, not a Hollywood production." She turned to the neutral lawmakers like Senator James Carter, knowing they'd be the deciding factor. "We have dozens more clips and field reports if you wish. I'm prepared to present them all." Carter nodded slightly, jotting something down, but staying silent. Vargas interjected, her tone firm. "Miss Bondi, stick to the question. Do you have evidence that Governor Newsom or California's government has condoned the riots?" The question landed like a bomb. Bondi offered a subtle smile, pulling out a stack of documents. "Madam Chairwoman, I have ICE reports showing that immigration raids were obstructed by California's sanctuary city policies. When local authorities don't cooperate, violence escalates. I'm not directly accusing, but Governor Newsom's policies have enabled this chaos." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We'll investigate further, and if there's evidence of condoning, no one is immune." Boos from the audience forced Vargas to bang the gavel repeatedly. Newsom finally reacted, leaning toward the microphone, but holding back. Klein noticed a flash of anger in his eyes, as if he was restraining a sharp retort. Maria Alvarez, an immigrant witness, sat quietly, hands clasped tightly, filled with worry. She knew her story was next, but all attention was on Bondi. Chairwoman Ellen Vargas banged the gavel, the sound cutting through the murmurs in the House chamber. Her sharp gaze turned to Gavin Newsom, who sat with a calm demeanor, but a glint of determination in his eyes. "Governor Newsom, you've heard the Attorney General's statements. Now, it's your turn to respond. What role has California played in the Los Angeles crisis? And how do you address the accusation that your state's government failed to control the riots?" Vargas leaned forward, emphasizing the weight of the question. Newsom cleared his throat, adjusted his tie, and looked directly at the lawmakers. His voice was low but compelling, carrying the poise of a leader accustomed to the spotlight. "Madam Chairwoman, honorable members, I'm here not to make excuses, but to defend the people of California. What we're seeing in Los Angeles is not a product of state government failure, but a direct consequence of divisive federal policies." He paused, his eyes sweeping to Bondi as if issuing a challenge. "Deploying the National Guard and Marines without California's consent is an assault on state autonomy, violating the spirit of the Constitution. This isn't about security, it's a power play." Applause erupted from the Democratic lawmakers, but Bondi remained still, arms crossed, a faint smile lingering. Newsom pressed on, his voice rising. "The president's travel ban targets specific nations, hurting innocent immigrants, and ICE raids have fueled tension. In California, we believe in building bridges, not walls. But instead of cooperation, the federal government chose to send troops, turning Los Angeles into a battleground. I urge Congress to review the legality of these actions." Congresswoman Sofia Rivera nodded in approval, but neutral Senator James Carter remained unreadable, his pen moving swiftly across paper. Sarah Klein, the independent journalist in the back, scribbled, "Newsom's appealing to emotion, but he needs hard evidence to counter Bondi." Klein sensed Newsom was trying to regain ground, but she also saw a potential risk in his confidence. Vargas raised an eyebrow, signaling Newsom to continue. "Governor, Miss Bondi alleges that California's sanctuary city policies have enabled the riots. How do you respond?" Newsom leaned forward, his voice sharper. "Our policies protect the rights of immigrants who contribute to California and the entire nation. Miss Bondi wants to pin the blame on us, but let's look at the root cause. ICE's aggressive raids incited the crowd. If the Justice Department truly cared about security, they would have coordinated with us instead of turning Los Angeles into a political battlefield." He turned to Bondi, his tone cutting. "And if the Attorney General wants to talk about responsibility, explain why the Justice Department has become the strong arm of a president acting like a dictator, ready to crush states' freedoms." The room exploded in a mix of boos and applause. Vargas banged the gavel repeatedly, shouting, "Order! Governor, please keep your language appropriate." But the damage was done. Newsom's personal attack on the president made neutral Senator Carter frown, shaking his head slightly. Klein noted, "Big misstep. Newsom just lost the support of those wanting a rational debate." Bondi, sensing her chance, sat straighter, her eyes gleaming with triumph. Republican Congressman Marcus Holt jumped in, his voice scathing. "Governor Newsom, you call the president a dictator, but you've let Los Angeles descend into chaos. Do you have any evidence the federal government is wrong, or just personal attacks?" Holt turned to the other lawmakers, raising his hand as if rallying. "This is why we need strong action like Miss Bondi is taking." Bondi seized the moment, standing, her voice calm but razor sharp. "Madam Chairwoman, I'm not here for personal attacks. Governor Newsom can choose to point fingers, but the facts don't change. ICE reports show over 40% of the violence in Los Angeles involves individuals protected by sanctuary city policies. When California refuses to cooperate with the federal government, riots erupt. The Justice Department didn't create this problem. We're fixing it." She held up a chart, pointing to the numbers. "In just 3 days, 12 officers injured, 30 businesses looted. This is the consequence of local inaction." Newsom tried to interject, his voice strained. "Miss Bondi is distorting the truth. California deployed local police, but the feds didn't coordinate, only wanted to impose." But Vargas cut him off, asking him to stay calm. Bondi pressed on, giving Newsom no room. "Governor, if you want coordination, explain why LAPD reports show they were under-resourced and lacked clear direction from your office. We have the documents to prove it." The room buzzed again, murmurs spreading. Clean noted, "Bondi's dominating. Newsom needs a stronger counter, but he's losing control." Congresswoman Rivera tried to salvage, standing to ask, "Miss Bondi, you talk about evidence, but were ICE raids conducted properly? There are reports they targeted legal immigrants, too." Bondi responded instantly, unflinching. "Every raid followed federal law, and we have lists of individuals detained for criminal activity. If Miss Rivera wants to see them, I'm ready to provide." She turned to Newsom, her voice low but weighty. "Instead of criticizing, California should help us protect citizens, not shield troublemakers." Maria Alvarez, the immigrant witness, bowed her head, hands trembling. She knew her turn was coming, but the clash between Bondi and Newsom commanded all attention. Neutral Senator Carter jotted something down, his eyes tinged with disappointment toward Newsom. Clean whispered to a colleague, "Newsom just shot himself in the foot. Attacking Trump was the wrong move in a hearing that demands reason." Bondi, sensing her advantage, closed her part with the powerful statement, "The Justice Department will continue investigating, prosecuting, and protecting Americans. We don't seek conflict, but we won't back down from violence." She sat, her eyes gleaming with triumph. Clean noted, Bondi just solidified her position, casting Newsom as a reactor, not a leader. He needs a miracle to turn this around. Here is the expanded script for the final section, completing the narrative and adhering to the faceless video format. Chairwoman Ellen Vargas banged the gavel one last time, the sound echoing like a period to the dramatic House hearing. The chamber, still aglow under chandeliers, now carried a somber air, as if everyone was processing what had transpired. Vargas stood, her voice low but commanding. "Today's hearing has shed light on many facets of the Los Angeles crisis. I thank Attorney General Bondi, Governor Newsom, and the witnesses for their participation. The committee will review the evidence and issue recommendations." She looked to the audience, her gaze stern. "We conclude here." Pam Bondi left the witness stand, her demeanor confident, eyes flashing with undeniable victory. She had expertly turned the hearing into a stage to assert the Justice Department's authority while subtly, yet effectively, undermining Gavin Newsom's stance. Her chilling warnings about prosecuting rioters and investigating funding left a lasting mark, evidently swaying neutrals like Senator James Carter toward her position. Bondi paused at the exit, shaking hands with Republican Congressman Marcus Holt, who leaned in to whisper, "Well done." "Trump will be proud." Newsom, in stark contrast, exited with a tense expression, though maintaining a polite, strained smile. His missteps, particularly the personal attacks on the president and Bondi, had visibly cost him points with key figures like Carter, who could shape future political opinion. Sarah Clean, the independent journalist in the back, closed her notebook, whispering to a colleague, "Newsom just hurt his own image. He wants to run for president, but today was a major setback." Clean knew this hearing would dominate commentary for weeks, a definitive chapter in the ongoing political narrative. Maria Alvarez, the immigrant witness, left the chamber quietly, her eyes still anxious. Her simple, heartfelt story had touched many hearts, but she wondered, with a heavy sense of realism, if it would bring any real, tangible change for her family. Clean, watching Alvarez, penned her final line, "The Los Angeles crisis isn't just about law or politics. It's about people like Alvarez caught in the crossfire." As lawmakers dispersed, Clean caught Carter, who rarely spoke publicly. He sighed, saying softly, "We need solutions, not bickering." But today, Bondi won. His comment reflected an undeniable truth. Bondi had bolstered the Trump administration's position, while Newsom left as a passionate but strategically lacking leader. The fallout from the hearing would reverberate widely. FBI reports on riot funding could spark new investigations, further complicating relations with Mexico, where President Claudia Sheinbaum faced domestic pressure after her controversial call for protests on American soil. Clean predicted Sheinbaum might retaliate by limiting border cooperation, escalating diplomatic tensions even further. Meanwhile, Los Angeles remained volatile, with the risk of renewed riots if no conciliatory solutions emerged from the political gridlock. As the television lights dimmed, Clean gazed out the window where the sunset bathed Capitol Hill in a golden glow. She wondered, can America weather this storm? Or will today's divisions shape an unstable future? Bondi, Newsom, and Alvarez, each representing a distinct facet of America, had left their indelible mark on the day. But the answers to the crisis, the real solutions, lay ahead, shrouded in uncertainty. How would the immigration and national security crisis truly be resolved when politics remained an unforgiving arena, often prioritizing victory over peace? The story of the hearing between Pam Bondi and Gavin Newsom reflects the deep divisions in American society today, where issues like immigration, security, and state autonomy are often politicized, tragically overshadowing human stories like Maria Alvarez's. The clash between Bondi's hardline stance on prosecuting riots and Newsom's defense of immigrant rights highlights how leaders can prioritize political victories over real solutions. Newsom's mistake in personally attacking the president instead of focusing on reasoned arguments cost him credibility with neutral lawmakers like James Carter, illustrating how impulsiveness can undermine authority. Meanwhile, Bondi leveraged FBI evidence to bolster her position, but her insinuation that Newsom enabled riots escalated tensions rather than fostering cooperation. Alvarez's story, as an innocent immigrant caught in the Los Angeles unrest, serves as a poignant reminder that ordinary people bear the brunt of these intense political conflicts. The lesson for real-life America, especially in today's polarized climate, is to prioritize dialogue grounded in facts and empathy over personal attacks or blame. When tackling complex issues like immigration, we can learn from Bondi's effective use of data, but avoid her confrontational approach towards Newsom. We must listen to stories like Alvarez's to grasp the real, human impact of policies instead of letting emotions alone drive decisions, as Newsom did. Seeking collaborative solutions, as Marie urged, over conflict, is the path to bridging divides and building a more cohesive community. Thank you for watching.